In the yesteryears of centuries ago, in a small portion of this vast world of ours, there lived a people called the children of Israel. From them came certain men and women through whom God revealed himself to all mankind. One of these was Gideon the Liberator. When the Israelites came into the land of Canaan, they found the people there worshiping idols instead of worshiping God. After a while, some of the people of Israel began to worship these idols too. They forgot about God and how much God had helped them. As a result, trouble and hardship began to come their way. The Midianites invaded their towns and homes, stealing their animals and crops, so that nothing was left for the people to eat. Some of the Israelites even had to hide in caves in the hills to get away from these robbers. Then God sent a prophet to remind the Israelites how they had disobeyed him.
Thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, I led you up from Egypt and brought you out of the place where you were slaves. I freed you from the Egyptians and from all your enemies, but you have not obeyed the Lord.
One day after that, a man named Gideon was working on his farm. Looking up from his work, Gideon was surprised to see an angel of the Lord sitting under a tree watching him. Then the angel spoke.
The Lord is with you, you mighty man of courage.
If the Lord is really with us, why then has all this happened to us? For now the Lord has forsaken us and given us into the hand of the Midianites.
Go in this might of yours and save Israel from the Midianites.
Lord, how can I save Israel?
I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midianites.
If you are really pleased with me, then give me a proof that you are really speaking to me. Don't leave, I beg you, until I come back and bring you an offering.
Gideon brought the angel some meat and cakes of bread. The angel told Gideon, "Take the meat and the bread and lay them on that rock." Then the angel took his staff and touched the food with it. At once, flames of fire sprang from the rock and burned up the food. Gideon looked around. The angel had gone. Gideon was afraid something might happen to him because he had seen an angel of the Lord. But God told him, "It is well with you. Do not fear." That night God spoke to Gideon again. He told him to tear down the idol that his father and friends had been worshiping, and in its place to build an altar where people could worship the Lord God. The next morning, when the people found their idol gone, they went to Gideon's father. They were very angry. Gideon's father tried to quiet them. He said, "If the idol is a god, let him fight for himself. You don't have to fight for him." After that, the people left Gideon alone. He began to think of ways he could drive the Midianite army out of their country. There were so many of them. How could he do it? But God gave Gideon courage. Gideon sent messengers throughout the land to call the soldiers together and get ready to fight. While Gideon was waiting for the men to gather, he prayed to the Lord.
If you really are going to use me to save Israel, as you said, then give me a proof. I will lay a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If dew falls only on the fleece and the ground all around it is dry, then I'll know that you will save Israel by me, as you have said.
Early the next morning, Gideon went to the fleece and squeezed it. He could wring water from it, although the ground all around it was dry. Gideon prayed to the Lord again.
Don't be angry with me, O Lord, if I ask for one more thing. Please let me make another test with the fleece. Let it be dry only on the fleece, and let there be dew all over the ground.
The next morning, Gideon went to look at the fleece again. The ground all around the fleece was wet with dew, but the fleece was dry. Now Gideon was assured that God wanted him to lead the Israelite army and drive the Midianites out of their country. 32,000 men joined Gideon's army. But God said this was too many. So Gideon sent home all those who were afraid. Gideon took the rest of the men to the spring to get a drink. God told Gideon to watch for the men who cupped the water up in their hands and then lapped it like a dog. There were 300 who drank this way. God told Gideon, "With these 300 I will give you the victory. Send all the others home." When it was dark, Gideon and one of his men crept quietly down to the camp of the Midianites. They stopped outside one of the tents and listened to some soldiers talking inside.
I had a dream. A cake of barley bread rolled into the camp of Midian. It struck a tent and turned it upside down, so that the tent laid flat.
That means the sword of Gideon, a man of Israel. Into his hands, God's given the whole camp of Midian.
When he got back to his own camp, Gideon got his soldiers ready for battle, but in a very strange way. He gave each man a horn, a lighted torch, and a jar in which to hide the torch. Then he told his men, "Watch me. When I come to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I blow the horn, all of you blow your horns around the camp and shout, 'For the Lord and for Gideon.'" While the Midianite soldiers were asleep, Gideon led his 300 men back to the Midianite camp. They were very quiet. Then suddenly Gideon blew his horn. At this signal, Gideon's men blew their horns, smashed their jars, and held up their torches. Then they began to shout their battle cry, "A sword for the Lord! A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" God gave Gideon and his men a great victory. After that, there was peace again, and the men of Israel came to Gideon and asked him to be their king.
Rule over us, you, and then your son, and your grandson after you, for you have saved us from the Midianites.
But Gideon knew that it was God who had really won the victory. He tried to explain to the people that God should be their king.
I will not rule over you, nor will my son rule over you. The Lord is ruling over you.
Gideon had been a good soldier and leader in battle. But more important, he had brought the people of Israel back to the Lord God.